Hi guys, it's Nancy, and today we're going to make this cute little fairy card. So let's get to it. Alright, the set came from Papercraft Magazine. I got this at my local Barnes & Noble, and it came with stamp set and then this embossing folder. We're going to start on just a piece of white cardstock. And then I have a little circle that I cut out of a mask and stuck that down. So we're going to use a couple of distress inks. We're going to use this Victorian Velvet and Tumbled Glass. With our ink blending tool. And we're just going to lightly start on the outside and move our way towards the middle. And don't worry if it looks a little splotchy, just use a light hand and keep going in a circular motion. And the Victorian Velvet and the Tumbled Glass will blend together, giving more of a purple color. I kind of wanted to make it look like dusk, but I didn't want to use the purple distress inks I have. I think are a little too dark. Alright, so we're going to do that. And we're going to just gently pull the masking paper off and reveal that circle. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is use the embossing folder. So we're going to get our big kick out here, big shot, or whatever you have. And what I did was I wanted the raised image to go through, so I put that in there like that. There we go. Now I'm going to take some pumice stone distress ink and very, very lightly just graze the top of that. Alright, so the next thing is to stamp the images. Now, I will tell you, these stamps are, even though they're clear and they're cling, I believe they're made out of silicone. It's not my favorite for stamps, but I really love this cute design. I got the magazine, the stamps, and the embossing folder for, I want to say $15. Yeah, $14.99. But these stamps don't always stamp the greatest. So what you want to do before you use the stamps are what's called seasoning them, because I'll use this one over here this time. This kind of clear stamp, it's not photopolymer, I'm pretty sure it's some kind of silicone. It tends to resist ink. And you have to season your stamp to get it to absorb the ink. You can even feel, sometimes they feel a little slimy, and that's the residue from the stamp making process to get them out of the molds. You want to very gently peel them off the backing sheet as well. So just to show you, stamp this one out. So this one I haven't used yet. And I'm just using VersaFine Onyx ink. And I find a pigment ink usually works better with these stamps. So if you stamp this out, actually that stamped out pretty good the first time, but usually the ink will bead up and there will be some splotchy splotchiness in your stamping. So what I like to do is, before I stamp with these, there's two ways that you can season them. The first way is to stamp it with a Versamark watermark ink pad. And then when that happens, that ink transfers into the stamp, filling in the pores of the stamp, making it easier for the ink to have something to grab onto. It basically is covering up any kind of imperfections in the stamp making process with the rubber. So you can do that. The other way is to stamp it off a few times, but the way that I like to do it on these stamps is to take an eraser or a sanding block. Now this is a Tim Holtz sanding block. It's just very fine sandpaper, and I'm just going to rub that across the stamp very gently a few times to give the stamp some tooth, so it gives the ink something to grab onto. And I find that it usually helps these kinds of stamps. You can get these stamps like, you know, you find them like the dollar section of your craft store. You know, they're cheaper for a reason, because they're not as good as regular photopolymer stamps. You can also tell the difference because normally regular photopolymer stamps will stain. These stamps will not stain. And that's because, again, that rubber is resisting the ink. All right, so stamp that again. All right, so you can see it's a little better. There was some splotchiness on the top here, which is not there now. Now there's still some splotchiness here at the bottom, as there was here. So I would just go back with my sanding block and make sure that I sand that off a little more. So in this one, I'm going to use this other stamp here. And again, just using that same VersaFine Black Onyx Pigment ink. I like this ink because I find it is the blackest ink. I can still see where the ink is resisting there on that part of the dress. And actually, I can see that the rubber was not filled in there. So it's an imperfection in the stamp. So instead of stamping it with a block, I'm going to switch to my Misti tool, because I don't want to ruin my project. All right, so I got a little mini Misti here. All right, and there's that bare spot. So I have a little paper stump tool here. It's basically just rolled up paper. And I'm just going to dip that into the ink. I don't have a VersaFine marker. That's something I'll have to get this weekend at the stamp show in Allentown. And I'm just taking that same ink with this stump and just filling it in where it didn't imprint well. And I'm just using a microfiber towel to clean my stamps. I don't have a stamp chamois. I find these microfiber towels you can find almost anywhere in the houseware section, in the car section. They don't need to be, You don't have to keep them moist like you do with the chamois. I just use a little squirt bottle of water, spray that on there, and wipe the stamps off. And then every once in a while, throw those microfiber towels in with the laundry, and they come out pretty clean. And they don't leave any kind of fluffy tufts, you know, like you get residue from wet wipes, the little strings behind. All right, so I think we need a little mushroom or something. Well, I guess she's supposed to be holding the can there. I think we're gonna make it look like she's sprinkling fairy dust. So we're just gonna use this little magic one. And again, we're just gonna sand it off a little bit. Oops. Came with this little bouquet of flowers. They look like little daisies. So we'll use those. You can go in and color those in with some markers, whatever you guys wanted to do there, Copics or watercolor markers. I'm just taking some Spectrum Noir clear glitter, and I'm going to put that on her wings. Be careful what kind of ink you use to stamp it out, because if you use a water-based ink, it will reactivate with the shimmer, and it'll color the shimmer. Because this was the VersaFine ink, it's not going to reactivate with the water. The other thing I did on the other one was I took a white gel pen. This is a Sakura Jelly Roll pen in white, and I just drew some little stars in the background. And then all I did, guys, was I mounted it on some die cuts with the View holographic cardstock. See that here? I just put that on there and then put it on a card. So there you go, 2 different versions of a fairy card. If you have any questions, post it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and keep on stamping.